up, Previews World? It is Wednesday. It is New Comic Book Day, which means it's time for Previews World Weekly. And it just so happens that this is kind of, we had our big year-end episode, and now this is the first normal show, quote unquote, of the new year, which means since we have a new year, we got a new type of show and a new co-host. What's up?
Hi.
What's up? What is your name?
I'm Ashton.
Now, you've been on the show before, but you are responsible for specifically what?
Free Comic Book Day and Halloween Comic Fest are outreach events where you can go to your local comic shop and get free comics.
Nice, nice, nice. So you're going to be joining us on the regular on the show. Like you're going to be my regular co-host now. And so I want to give you a little bit of street cred before we just dive right into it, because everybody's familiar with what I know, or with what I like, I should say.
The X-Men.
Right, the X-Men, right. But what are you into? Where does your geek lie? What is your geek thing? You're definitely wearing it on your sleeve, so.
It's like kind of like weird and backwards.
Yeah.
Okay, so my main thing is Star Wars. That was my big introduction to nerd culture.
Okay.
From a very young age was Star Wars.
Like how young? Like, do you remember, or?
You know what? My brother is an even bigger Star Wars fan than I am, and he's 2 years older than me, so it had to have like been on in the house from like infancy.
Yeah. Okay, right, gotcha. It was just like you literally were inundated with Star Wars early on.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. All right, so definitely Star Wars, and what else?
Archie, across the board.
right.
I love the comics. I liked Mark Waid's run on it. I'm a little behind, so I haven't read any of like Nick Spencer's stuff, because he had done some stuff with Sabrina and then also Katie Keene. I have high hopes for it. And also I love Riverdale. Biggest train wreck on TV. It's so campy. But you can't look away. I love it.
Yeah, nice. Actually, I think there's an Archie. The Archie 710 is like the beginning, I think, of the Kathy Keene storyline or something like that.
It is. They're going to New York. Archie's going to try and be a singer.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I wish they would make KJ Appa stop singing in the series, though.
Oh, and on the
super not necessary.
On the Riverdale show.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, actually, speaking of comics out this week, right? It just so happens that Undiscovered Country's out this week. That's a big one, right? And that's actually a major one for you, isn't it?
It is.
Like, is that one you're looking forward to?
It is probably the one I'm looking forward to the most. I just started reading this, well, it just came out back in November, but I'm so excited about this series. I love it. I recommend it to anybody that will listen, that will let me tell them about it. So, to give a little bit of a background, it's basically the United States up and seals their borders and become like a black box to the world. And then 30 years later, in the midst of a pandemic, the rest of the world receives a message that the U.S. has the cure they need for this virus. And so they send in a special team into the U.S. for the first time in those 30 years. And of course, it's nothing like what they would imagine. And it's actually interesting because I was telling my mom about it. And she was like, Undiscovered Country, like, doesn't that come from somewhere else?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Turns out it's from Hamlet,
okay.
And he coins that phrase as a way to describe our fear and lack of knowledge surrounding death, which I'm sure was done with great intention by Scott Snyder and Charles Soule, and I'm sure that will come to play a big role in it down the line. But it's a little dystopian if you're into that.
Nice. Yeah.
Sci-fi, futuristic. The first issue, when they first get in the country and they kind of tackle the first territory, since there aren't really states anymore, very Mad Max.
Okay, nice.
Like people in
right
crazy outfits, right?
Yeah.
Crazy outfits, riding like weird buses and tanks and RVs and like genetically modified land whales.
Okay, nice. All right, yeah.
Fascinating.
Now, I know I remember like right before the book got announced, I want to say, they got announced for a TV show or a movie or something like that. So I'm actually looking forward to it's always interesting to see what happens with books like that when they get options so early on.
Right.
Like, is this like is it going to influence the TV show, going to influence the comic, or is the comic going to influence the TV show, or are they working in conjunction with each other? So, yeah, and that's number 3. So, like, hopefully people definitely will pick that up, because I know it was like Image's top book, for the issue 1 was. So, definitely check that out. Undiscovered Country number 3 is in stores this week. Big one that I'm looking forward to is actually Venom: The End.
Yeah.
Actually, so it's by Adam Warren, who's the writer. He's also an artist, and I actually got a chance to do an interview with him at Baltimore Comic Con. That's been floating around on our YouTube, so you can definitely check that out right now. But he basically talks about his career in comics as a writer and artist. But this particular book he is writing, of course, and Marvel's been doing these The End books.
Right.
And so, like, there's one, like, they did them, like, about, I want to say maybe about 10 years ago, because I was still working in a comic shop when this initially came out. But it's, they did one for, like, Wolverine and the Hulk and the Punisher. Those last 2 especially were 2 of my favorites. It's literally the last story of these characters, like their swan song. And so this Venom one is about him defending the universe from an intergalactic threat. And when you look at the preview pages, which is actually on the website right now, it's the Celestials. And so, like, you know, it's basically like the end of the universe, you know, and Venom is like the last line of defense. So, like, yeah, definitely check that out. It's and like, yeah, it's those books tend to have like sort of like a gravitas to them when they're done really well.
Right.
And I think that Adam Warren's going to do that here. Also, the artist is a guy named Chamba, and I know a lot of people like, you know, like Adam Warren's art style. I'm one of them, but he doesn't draw this, of course. But Chamba kind of complements the Adam Warren style.
Okay.
So yeah, definitely check that out. It's got like a manga feel to it a little bit, and the preview pages are on the website on top of that. Big ticket items this week.
Yes.
Iron Man 2020. Woo! Which is Arnold Stark basically fending off the robot apocalypse, which you know is one of my favorite subjects.
We love Sophia.
We love Sophia. There you go. And so, like, this is a new one-shot. This is spinning out of Dan Slott's current Iron Man run. And, like, yeah, it should be interesting because Arnold Stark is supposed to be the legitimate son of Howard and Maria Stark. So he's taking up the mantle of Iron Man in the year 2020. And we have another big one this week, Legion of Superheroes #3 from DC Comics. This, of course, is Brian Michael Bendis. And I got to point out every single time, the Ryan Sook covers are so nice looking. Like, they just look so great. But this is, you know, this is another series that's kicked off about a few months ago. It was a big launch from DC. The Losh, the Legion of Superheroes, Losh, aka Losh. Basically like a super team from the 31st century. Like, they're all the next generation of superheroes. But this one actually has Damian Wayne joining the team. And so, yeah, and there's like they're promising a thing called Planet Gotham. And I don't know quite what that is, but it sounds pretty interesting.
Sounds like everything's gonna go wrong.
Yeah. So, like, I think this is gonna be a fun one. And, like, I've seen a lot of people seem to like it. It's a very, very colorful book. On top
The
of
cover's
everything.
really vibrant.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, definitely keep an eye out for that this week. Also, I just want to point this out to people. The panel. Like, it's actually debuting this week. If you're catching the show the week of January 17th, it's actually debuting this week. It's a new show that we're producing. It features Anna-Mia. She's the host, and she's talking to a panel.
See what we did there?
Right. Of guests who talk about a particular comic, and this one in particular is going to be about Hush. So check out this trailer, and then when we come back, we'll have Social Swamp for you.
Be sure to tune in this Friday for the premiere episode of The Panel.
A monthly book show where we pick out a book, we give you time to read it, and then have you join us and a panel of guests as we have a little chat going in-depth into the comic.
Join us as our panel takes a look in between the panels of the modern classic Batman Hush.
Top 10 in terms of like defining stories.
So I binge watched it.
Right, yeah. Hey, not that day.
And that drives me nuts.
The Panel, this Friday at 12 Eastern on Facebook and YouTube.
And that was a look inside the panel, which is debuting this week. So if you're catching it the week of January 17th, then you definitely like check it out. It's a cool one. Like, I actually am very proud of like what happened. Like, I sat and like watched like them do the show. Mia hosts. And like, it's Steve from Third Eye Comics, who's the owner of Third Eye Comics. It's Kerry Wood, who did the Batman Overstreet Price Guide. It's Dan Poole, who's a Viz Media representative. And they just unpack Hush, like the Batman Hush series. And so, like, we're gonna have a rotating panel of guests. You might be on there. Haven't told you that yet, but you might be.
With my hot takes.
What's your hot take? I mean, you know, truthfully, we might do an Archie one. Like, we actually, I would take that as a suggestion. That would be a fun one to do.
I would love that.
Yeah. And like, I might be on there. I wasn't trusted to be on the Batman Hush episode.
Can't imagine why.
Because I have some strong opinions about Batman Hush, and we want you to enjoy the show. But
Troy just yelling for 20
right,
minutes.
I don't understand. No, but yeah, it's a cool one. You should definitely check it out, and also engage with in the comments for that show as well, because there's going to be plenty of like viewer engagement throughout the show.
That too.
So now it's time for Social Swamp.
My favorite.
Yeah, your absolute favorite.
I'm so excited.
So we took to the internet and we asked you guys a question. Like, basically, the Harley Quinn trailer dropped this past week, right?
It did.
And Harley Quinn's kind of like
Birds of Prey.
Yeah, okay, right, sure. Sure, Birds of Prey trailer dropped this week.
And the fantabulous emancipation of the...
Right. And so, like, it's interesting because Harley Quinn's kind of the poster child for a character that came from outside media, but ultimately made a huge impact on the comic books. Like, I mean, she's got like, in any given year, she has like 5 miniseries running at the same time. And that might be an exaggeration, but not much of an exaggeration. So I wanted to ask like people online, our viewers, like, what were some of the best or worst characters from TV, movies, or games that were inserted into comics continuity? And there's actually a pretty long list of them. Like, I was actually surprised by how many people had, first of all, well, I'm not surprised by the opinions.
I was about to say.
Yeah, I mean, come on. But like, how many people actually like had like, you know, some good background on a lot of these characters? Because like, there's Lex Luthor, There's Jimmy Olsen. Recently, there's Arkham Knight from the video games who ended up being
Right.
inserted into the Batman comics. So who, like, oh yeah, like I want to ask you guys, and you guys answered. So let's dive on in.
Alonzo said, seems as if Marvel could have done more with Firestar. Chuck Morg said, Renee Montoya was created for the Batman animated series and then went on to be featured in the Gotham Central comic in one of the best stories I've ever read. Then she eventually took over as the Question from Vic Sage. Currently, they both work under that identity. And while her time as that character hasn't really made the biggest impact, I feel there is so much potential there for something special and historic in the right hands. I love Renee's evolution and look forward to seeing where she goes in the future. Steve Kempton said, Batgirl was actually the result of Batman TV producer William Dozer meeting with Julie Schwartz and asking them to design a female character for the show. Gene Green said, Bebop and Rocksteady, made for the original cartoon and have made an impact in all aspects of TMNT since. And finally, Konstantinos Plakas with some feedback for us. Whomever did this graphic for you needs to be fired immediately. The colors are too jarring and going back and forth between them like that is horrendous.
Jeez, thank you. I get so much flack for it. I make the graphics, okay? Like not all the graphics, but I definitely do the Social Swamp ones.
I make the bad graphics.
I make the bad graphics. I know they're not good, but I just want you guys to react to them. Sorry, Konstantinos Plakos, my bad. Anyway, did you see the Harley Quinn trailer?
I did.
Yeah, what'd you think of it? Yeah, I mean, I get that, right? It was better than the first one for me.
It was.
Yeah.
I feel like we need to pump the brakes on Harley Quinn a bit.
I mean, I do think a lot of people feel that way. I think that, it's interesting because there's no correct formula for introducing a character into a medium. You know what I mean? Like, everyone's going to have like their own opinion about it or whatever. I think with Harley Quinn is actually particularly interesting because she was introduced in the Batman animated series cartoon.
Right.
Became a fixture of just Batman continuity in comics. And now she's kind of evolved into like this other thing because of the Suicide Squad movie. So she's had like 3 evolutions. And like, yeah, I sympathize and I totally understand people who say like, enough with the Harley already. I get it. But at the same time, anything that gets people into comics, this is the gateway that they have.
Right.
And we should maintain that at all times. But yeah, at the same time, like the trailer is better than the first one.
Oh, absolutely.
I kind of felt, but still not as enticing, I want to say.
Okay, so I'm not a superhero comics person. They don't do anything for me. That's just not,
that's fine,
my interest. So I got nothing out of this trailer. Like, I feel like I have no clue what this movie's going to be about other than her, like, wreaking havoc post-Joker.
Right.
And if that's the plot, like, that's fine, but it seems unclear what she's trying to accomplish.
Well, actually, you just brought up something that made me think about this. The trailer opens with her, like, I guess, driving Joker into an Acme chemical plant. Or I'm assuming maybe he's in the Acme
I
chemical.
thought he was in there, and then she drives the truck in to explode.
It explodes, right?
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if Jared Leto's going to even be in the movie.
Can he be in there?
I
He's
guess-
also going to be.
I mean, yeah, sure he could. I mean,
just go around being all villains.
I guess
he
he could. Actually, speaking of which, you saw the Morbius trailer, right?
I did.
Yeah, what did you think of that one?
I have a selection of feelings here.
There's tears. Okay, break them down in terms of tears.
I respect Sony's desire to make this like cinematic universe of Superman villains, but I think there's probably better known. What did I say?
You said Superman. That's okay.
Oh, sorry. There's probably better, more well-known villains we could have started with.
Yeah.
Also, I love Jared Leto as an actor. I know some people he's divisive for whatever reason. I think he's great. He won an Oscar. I actually think he's a great choice in terms of the casting.
Right, yeah.
But I also feel like I'm just like finally recovering from like the oversaturation of vampires when we had like Twilight and True Blood and like all of this like all at once. And it's like finally like, let's just go back to it.
Right. Yeah, I don't think we ever actually get a break from vampires.
No.
I think there's always just been a steady stream of vampire stories. I mean, like, I watched the trailer and I was like, I kind of wish this was not a Spider-Man related movie. Like, I wish it was just a vampire film.
Right.
Like, because it was kind of interesting by itself, like just on that. You know what I mean? Like, it's interesting to kind of see them pulling directly from that. It kind of
Right.
felt like the little Michael Keaton bit at the end was kind of like, okay, sure,
Right.
yeah, all right, fine, I guess. We'll see. Part of me is like, Sony's hell-bent on ruining a good thing, but I don't know.
I noticed that they put Spider-Man: Homecoming and Far From Home in there, like
Oh,
from
yeah.
the studio that brought you.
Right,
Even
yeah,
though, like,
yeah.
it's technically Marvel's baby. But
Right, yeah. Actually, I saw
Splicers.
a great meme that was like it was the image that they show in front of these Sony movies, particularly was in association with Marvel Studios, and it was like when both parents are like vying for the kid.
Right.
Like I thought that was actually pretty hilarious. I mean, look, I was wrong about Venom. I mean, I didn't think Venom was fantastic, but I watched it and I was like, that's Venom. That's legit a Venom. That's a Venom
Okay.
movie. Like I can't knock it. Like it was pretty entertaining, but at the same time, like the whole mad scientist, science gone wrong shtick is, it's just
Another one that's done to death.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It just seems to be, I mean, I know it's kind of a theme with the Spider-Man characters, but I don't know if we need entire movies about that, so we'll see. We'll see. I could be wrong, could be right, I don't know. But thank you guys very much for providing us with actually a great number of characters. A lot of them which I had forgotten about. Like that, people mentioned X-23. I forgot that she was originally on the X-Men Evolution cartoon.
Wow, they really went into the vault for that one.
Yeah. I mean, this is a great thing about our viewers is they are comic fans. So
Right.
they school us and we get tons of great trivia from them and they'll let us know when we ain't doing well. So
I believe it.
just like that graphic. So there you go. But yeah, so I guess that's it for us this week.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a short one, all right? So, hey guys, thanks for joining us every week. And we're going to be back, of course, next Friday. We took a little sabbatical.
Wednesday?
Next Wednesday.
It's okay, I said Superman earlier.
That's okay.
Whatever.
We took a little sabbatical, the week in between, just to kind of get our bearings for the new year. But we're going to be back every single week from here on out. So definitely stay tuned. And we're going to close out with a comic shop shout out. And this particular comic shop shout out is from Stephen Payton, who showed love to Amazing Comic Shop. And actually Third Eye, I'm going to give him a little nod too. But we're going to close with Amazing Comic Shop in Fairfax, Virginia. I'll give you a little look inside their store. And on top of that,
If you want to have your local comic shop shouted out, find us on social media and use the use the hashtag support your LCS, and we could pick you to feature on our show.
cool. And that's it for us here on Previews World Weekly. I've been Troy Jeffrey Allen.
And I'm Ashton.
And we'll see you guys at the Spinner Rack.